What's going on, guys? It is Royalty Crypto here, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the 8th most valuable coin in the crypto space and the original meme coin, and that is Dogecoin, of course. And guys, before we get into this video, this is a new channel and I would greatly appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. Your support means so much to me, guys. But yeah, without further ado, let's start talking about this coin. So as you can see here, we are trading at just over 18.5 cents, which equates to a $28 billion market cap for this coin. The fact that a meme coin could be worth $28 billion is just mind-blowing to me. Like, it is really incredible. But nonetheless, meme coins really do have just such amazing communities, and they can get a ton of hype around them, like Dogecoin has had for, like the past 10 years or so at this point. And that is actually why I love investing in them. As you can see here, there is $850 million in 24-hour trading volume, which is very impressive, especially on a Saturday, and yesterday was a holiday, of course. So there really hasn't been that much trading going on. But the fact that even on a slow day, we can see nearly $1 billion in trading volume is very impressive. Also, just one quick note, Dogecoin does have 100% of tokens in circulation, so there is no inflation when you invest in this coin. All right, let's take a look at the chart. So Dogecoin peaked in 2021 and got to roughly about 70 cents at its peak. And we also had a very nice run in late 2024 during the Trump election rally. But one thing that really does look bullish on this chart, in my opinion, guys, is the fact that we did bottom at around 6 cents in 2023, but since then we have been on a somewhat steady uptrend. And now we are sitting at still 3x higher than the bottom of the bear market. A lot of other altcoins in the space, like they did end up having that decent run like late 2024, but most of them have since retraced back to their bear market bottom. So the fact that Dogecoin is still, 3 times higher than that is definitely a good sign in my opinion. If I were to give a realistic and best case scenario price target with this coin for this cycle, I think that Dogecoin could legitimately get to about $1 to $1.20. Like finally breaking that dollar mark that people have been talking about with Dogecoin for so many years now. I think that is definitely possible, but we will need to see, some extreme greed in the markets, which we are not seeing right now. But speaking of the fear and greed index, let's go ahead and take a look at it. As you can see here, we are currently sitting at a 35 out of 100, so we are still somewhat well into fear here. Although it does kind of seem like the sentiment is starting to slowly but surely flip back to, people being a little bit more greedy. We'll see what happens next week. I kind of think that next week will be a good week. People, in my opinion, overreacted to the FOMC meeting discussion and overreacted to Jerome Powell saying that it's not a foregone conclusion that they'll cut rates. But nonetheless, I think that the market will start to realize that we are heading in the right direction with QE around the corner and more rate cuts coming soon. So in my opinion, I do believe that it is a good time to be buying altcoins. Now, when I say it's a good time to be buying, I don't think that you should go and put every penny that you have in crypto at this very second. I don't think that that's ever a good idea. But what I'm doing personally is just, going back to my dollar cost average buys. So every single week, I just pick a day that, the markets are very red and I buy. And I'm going to do that until we are out of fear, because I think that as long as you're buying into fear in the long run, you are going to do very well in this space. All right, let's take a look at a tweet that I found very interesting. Breaking news. The Federal Reserve pumps basically $30 billion into markets overnight. The Fed quietly injected $30 billion into the banking system via overnight repos, the highest in years. A clear sign of liquidity stress in the system. So guys, I know that we haven't officially started quantitative easing yet, but you need to look behind the scenes at what's going on. And clearly the Fed has intentions to pump money back into the market. I think that we are in a slow time in our economy right now. I don't know if you can necessarily say that we are in a recession or not, but the Fed definitely realizes this, and they are going to try their absolute best to bail us out of, our economy getting any worse than what it is right now. So this is a fantastic sign. Now let's take a look at the M2 money supply. If you guys are unaware of what the M2 money supply is it's basically the amount of liquidity throughout every single country in the world. So as you can see, We actually bottomed, well, local bottomed on the M2 money supply in September of 2023, and since then we have been on a steady uptrend. I think that this will start to accelerate once the US officially goes into quantitative easing, because that means that they'll be turning the money printers back on. And I think that if the M2 starts to, go somewhat parabolic, I do believe that crypto coins, especially altcoins, are going to do incredibly well. So definitely keep your eyes on this, guys. Also, another thing that gives me a lot of conviction that we're not going into a bear market. As you can see here, guys, the M2 money supply topped in April of 2022, right around the time that the bear market for crypto really started to pick up. And as you can see, we had a very rough time, basically the rest of 2022, and that correlated with the M2 money supply. Now, people saying that we're going to go into a bear market right now when the M2 money supply is steadily going up and potentially about to go parabolic, it just doesn't quite make sense, guys. So just keep an eye on that. All right, let's take a look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map now. As you can see here, we have a lot of very confident bears betting that the price is going to go down above this $111,000 range. So basically what this means, guys, is if the price of Bitcoin surpasses like 112,000, all of these people are going to be forced to sell their entire position because they're trading on leverage, which is basically borrowed money. So I think that there is a legit case that Bitcoin could start to, liquidate these short traders next week. And, if you start to liquidate these traders, it's going to push the price higher, and it could create a short squeeze scenario. So it is definitely possible that we could see $118,000 Bitcoin in the coming weeks to potentially months. So definitely keep your eye on this chart. And I already talked about Bitcoin, but I did want to take a look at Ethereum real quick. As you can see here, Ethereum is trading at 3,860 right now. We've been trading in this channel for quite some time, and I believe that Ethereum is basically just patiently waiting to see what Bitcoin decides to do. If Bitcoin decides to, push up towards all-time highs again, Ethereum is going to do the exact same thing. So if you're holding Ethereum and altcoins, you really need to be watching Bitcoin to see what Bitcoin decides to do next. But alright, guys, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys had a fantastic Halloween and enjoy the rest of your weekend. I will talk to you guys tomorrow.